Welcome everyone. In this video lecture, we will start a new chapter in 9th class physics, which is gravitation. Okay. Now, if we recap what we have learned so far in 9th class is we studied about motion, we studied about momentum, we studied about laws of motion, where we studied, three different laws which Newton gave, and one of the second law was telling us that force is proportional to acceleration. So it was proportional to acceleration, and we know acceleration is proportional, is connected to change in velocity, so delta V. So we can say force is required to change velocity. That's the relationship here. So let's move forward. I'm going to ask you questions here, and the point of asking this question is for you guys to start thinking why we need gravitation. Okay, why we develop this new concept of gravitation. Okay, so first question I would like to ask is when we throw an object up, or the object which is dropped from a height, they always fall toward Earth. And why is that? So let's say this is the ground and we have a stone here, and let's say I throw the stone upwards, it will go up and then it will always come down, right, and hit the ground here. So, and if I drop a stone from here, it always comes down and hit the ground. So the question is why it happens, why the object dropped from a height or object thrown upwards, they always comes back and fall towards Earth. So that falling towards Earth is where I would like you guys to focus. Okay. Similarly, one more question. We know all the planets in our solar system goes around the sun. Okay. So as planets are going around the sun, let's consider one example where this is the sun, this is the Earth, and as this Earth is revolving around the sun, okay, its velocity is changing, right? Because velocity has both magnitude and direction. Okay, so the direction of this Earth is always changing as it is revolving around, right? It's here in this point, its direction is here, its direction is here. So the velocity of Earth is changing, and we know from what we just talked about, and also from the Newton's law, that change in velocity is connected with the force. So there is some kind of force which is acting on the Earth, which is making the velocity to change, right? What is that force? And similarly, all the planets, as they revolve around the sun, they have the same force, same kind of force, right? Another question would be similar logic, that why moon go around the Earth. So we have the moon here, we have the Earth here, and we have a moon here, and I'm gonna just draw its path as it is revolving here. The velocity of the moon is changing, direction is changing, and so there must be some kind of force acting in this direction. And why is that? Why which force is acting on the moon? Let's do a thought experiment here. Okay, imagine this person is holding a string, okay, and then there is a stone tied at the end of the string. Okay, now start swinging the string, so the stone is in circular motion. Okay, and so as a person is like holding the string and which is tied to the stone will do the circular motion, like will go back and forth here. So if I want to ask at any point what is the velocity of the stone, that would be like whatever the magnitude at this point, let's say, and the direction would be here, here, here. That's what it would be, tangent to the circle. Okay. So let's say if we cut the string, then stone will just fly off. So the velocity of the stone is always changing in this motion. Okay, and so there must be some kind of force which is acting on the stone to keep it not fly off, and that force which is acting on the stone and which is keeping the stone in the circular motion, direction is towards the center at any time, right? And that force is called centripetal force. Okay, it's called centripetal force. That means center seeking. Okay, so it's because it is towards the center. So similarly, like when we have like planets, suppose this is an Earth, and then this is a moon. As the moon is moving around this Earth, there must be a force which is acting on the moon, which towards the center of the Earth. So that which is kind of making the moon go around the circular motion. Otherwise, the moon will just like, move away. So, and same is true for our planet system. We have a lot of planets revolving around the sun, so there must be some kind of force acting on the planets towards the sun to keep them in the loop. Okay. So now I want to start like a point in the history where the topic of gravitation really came into play. Okay, this was back like in the 17th century, I believe, when Newton was sitting under the apple tree, and then apple fell on his head. Okay, now when apple fell on the Newton's head, Newton thought, why apple fall towards earth? And this was very, very important question he asked, and then falling towards the earth is actually the key here. Why apples falling towards the earth? Why not it's going upwards? Why it is always downwards? The questions about if you throw a stone upwards, why it always comes back. So all these thoughts starts coming to him. Okay, so if everything is falling towards the earth, there must be a force, okay, which is causing them to fall towards the earth. Okay, so this force then start asking more bigger questions. Is like, okay, so now apple is falling towards the earth, there must be a force between the apple and the earth. Okay, now when the moon is revolving around the earth, moon is always, there is a force between the moon and the earth, which is discussed about in the previous, a few minutes back. So there must be a force here. Now this force and this force, are they both same kind? And answer is yes. In fact, the same force is also for sun and earth and planets and other planets. So what he said, not only the earth, every two objects in a universe have attraction force between them. Okay, and that attraction force is called gravitation force, and that's the topic of this chapter, and we will study great detail about the gravitation. So the example we discussed about earth and moon, so there is a force between, which is pulling the moon towards the earth. And actually we know from the Newton's third law, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. To every, there always a force existing, action and reaction forces. So if the moon is getting pulled towards the earth, then earth should also be getting pulled towards moon, right? So any two objects in the universe, doesn't have to be planets, it could be your books sitting on the table. There is a force, that force, and that's an attractive in nature, so it's pulling one towards another. Okay, and that force is called gravitation force, and we will learn a lot more. So this was just a basic introduction about the gravitation, why it is important, what is how gravitation affects our daily life. I hope that that arises a lot of questions in it, a lot of curiosity in your mind to understand this chapter. In the next video lecture, we will study about universal law of gravitation.